Oh wow, yeah, no. That's very I just looked at it. That's very not available. That is
Oh, okay, that's a shame.
yeah, that's
Here we are
yeah,
hyping it
those
up,
are
and
the good thing though, I will say that all the Viz Media and the vertical titles, they are all available digitally. I'm
mhm.
99% sure that all of that stuff is available digitally. So if you're the kind that really doesn't mind or actually prefers a digital version to a physical version, uh, and you just want a way to be able to read this work, legitimately, it's available that way. It's not completely cut off like you got these freaking scalpers on here, demanding like 800, $900 for
Oh
Mysterious
God.
Underground Men. Like, I'm telling you right now, it's good, but it ain't 800, $900 good. You can.
I believe we have covered my kind of introduction to Osamu Tezuka in terms of like it was a lot of the vertical stuff. Perhaps something we should touch on now, since we're kind of discussing the topic of acquiring these books,
Yeah.
is like let's say you're watching this video, this all sounds good to you. You're like, hey, I want to start collecting some Osamu Tezuka. Where should I begin? So now isn't actually a bad time if you're getting introduced to Osamu Tezuka to start collecting some stuff, because not only are some reprints coming out, I believe Kodansha recently announced, along with a new release of Bomba. I can't remember exactly when that manga was released, but it's a brand new release from Osamu Tezuka in terms of its English release. They're also doing some
Mm.
reprints of some of Vertical's older Osamu Tezuka releases. Like I believe they mentioned that they're reprinting Apollo Song, which is a series that you mentioned. Um,
Right.
so that's excellent. Beyond that, as well, I've heard that, and this was something I was discussing with you before we started recording this. Digital Manga Publishing are also doing some reprints of their manga as well, their Osamu Tezuka manga. The only one that I know off the top of my head, I know it's several, but the only one I know off the top of my head is Storm Fairy, but they are
Right.
reprinting that.
Yeah, they have a digital manga publishing. Actually, it's pretty good. They in lieu of their recent sort of Kickstarter debacle.
I've managed to find it. I'll just hold up for my personal camera in terms of my iPad. But
Hmm.
Vertical are doing a new omnibus release of Apollo
Ooh.
Song, Princess Knight, and Ode to Kirihito. Well, I said Vertical, sorry, Kodansha Comics. And then they're also releasing Bomba, which is a brand new release, which I'll be eager to pick up.
For sure. Like that, I think that's the first time Kodansha has done any Tezuka, and then I think that might be actually the oldest manga that Kodansha has actually released. Period.
Possibly, I can't confirm that for sure, but it's definitely amongst their oldest. I would say that. I was just going to ask if someone was to ask for your personal opinion on whether they should pick up either Apollo Song, Princess Knight, or Ode to Kirihito as their first read. Which one would you recommend?
I'm gonna be honest. I kind of forget what happens in Apollo Song. I know there's like a lot of stuff that happens in Apollo Song, but I just blank as far as like the overall.
Um,
I think that's like, isn't that a lot of like reincarnation that
um,
kind of goes on in
it's something similar-ish to that. It's like this guy who he doesn't understand the concept of love, and so Apollo, I believe it is, sends him through time to all these different instances, all these situations that involve the concept of love as a
Right.
form of kind of lesson.
Like that. Honestly, I would say Ode to Kirihito. Ode to Kirihito is so good that I'm actually surprised. Like, I remember I used to get like a Anime Insider magazine that was put out by Wizard
Mhm.
Publishing. It was kind of like you had Wizard magazine that talked all about comics and comic speculation stuff, and then you also had like Anime Insider that would do the same thing but with like anime and manga. And I would get that religiously. And, I would get it because, you would find out like all these different topics and stuff. And then they would have the part in the back, saying, here's all the new releases coming out. And I would always like try to keep an eye out for things. And one of them, there was one article in there that was like top 5 manga that haven't been adapted into an anime and should be. And one of them was Ode to Kirihito.
Interesting.
And And that was actually, I think, the first time I had actually heard of that series from that article because I think maybe I had seen it a couple times on online in the manga shops, the manga online shops. I'd see like that name come up maybe. And I saw that and I was like, oh wow, they put like I think like Battle Royale on there, and then I think there was a couple other ones, but that was one of them, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that. And so then I went and got it and read it, and then it's actually a very well put together story in terms of beginning, middle, and end. I think it's the most competently well put together manga story for a casual reader that maybe wouldn't want to read Apollo Song, because Apollo Song has that problem with some of the Tezuka stuff where it gets a little scatterbrained
Okay.
with some parts in it, because Tezuka likes to just do these big ideas, and he wants to he wants to push the envelope all the time. And then Princess Knight, I think Princess Knight kind of has the problem of, maybe it's a little too kiddie. And honestly, I think like most people that read Princess Knight were people who are reading it that were the hardcore Tezuka fans, because at least for me, first initial reason I picked up Princess Knight was because of its importance to the history of manga.
In terms of my own personal opinions on that, you've made a lot of really good points there. I would definitely agree with you in that if you're into kind of seinen manga and you want to see what Osamu Tezuka is all about, I would definitely recommend you to go and check out Ode to Kirihito. The thing I would warn is that there is some strong content in there, so if you're a bit squeamish, maybe that might not necessarily be the first manga that you might want to try out. But for those of you who are comfortable with a lot of like kind of adult content, as Matt quite rightly pointed out, it's a very solid story, very well thought out, very well paced, and quite entertaining. And then for Princess Knight, I have a friend who's really into shoujo manga, and I gave her Princess Knight as a gift, just telling her like this was kind of the foundation for a lot of modern shoujo manga in terms of like the type of story it was telling, in terms of stuff like having the sparkles in the eye, etc., etc. And she ended up enjoying it quite a bit, simply because she could recognize how it contributed to a lot of the manga that she would end up reading. So if you're into shoujo manga and you want to kind of know more about the foundation of shoujo manga, I would definitely recommend you check out Princess Knight. Apollo Song is probably one of the more kind of, check that out if you want kind of a bit more out there experimental type of manga. But in terms of those reprints, that is fantastic that they're doing reprints, and I highly commend them for that. I haven't read Bomba yet, so I can't comment on that one.
Right, me neither.
So I'll definitely be interested to pick up Bomba and see what that's like. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, Digital Manga Publishing are doing some reprints. So I would say just check out and see like what Digital Manga Publishing are releasing and see what people are saying about them. So we've been talking about Osamu Tezuka for quite a while now. I would say, is there anything you kind of want to leave the viewers, any kind of information about Tezuka, about his manga, about anything really, before we kind of sign off?
His influence can't really be understated. As far as like a guy who initially he started out as wanting to be a medical doctor.
Yeah,
he actually got his license, and he got that while also writing manga and while also starting up his animation production company.
Yeah.
Like he did all of that at once. Honestly, if you want to learn more about it and check that out, obviously get the Osamu Tezuka life story book, because it has a lot of, because it's very good in terms of like it starts from beginning, middle, and end, and you actually do get a good sampling of information about like what he was trying to do, and also you do get a good sense of his successes, but also sort of his failures. He really struggled a lot with a lot of the animation stuff he was trying to do. Like, there were a lot of these more experimental stuff that didn't always land. That's another weird thing with that you're gonna find out with Tezuka is there are a fair number of series that he did that got canceled. It's very bizarre to think like, he's a big successful guy and he can still
Still fail, but that's I think a sign of how determined he was, and in that sense I believe he's a role model to us all, that he kept trying and trying, even when things went wrong, such as some of his manga getting cancelled, such as his company Mushi Production going bankrupt, etc., etc.
Yeah.
There was a lot of
It
things
went
that
bankrupt. Yeah.
there was a lot of things that didn't work out in his life, and yet he kept persevering. He's made his legacy now. So,
Oh yeah.
another book, you mentioned the Osamu Tezuka story. Another book that actually I have with me, and I'll just show it to the camera, is The Art of Osamu Tezuka by Helen McCarthy. That's also a very informative read that gives you a lot of good information about a lot of his manga, about his life, about a lot of his influences, etc., etc. So that's another good book that I'd recommend if you're looking to find out more about the man behind the manga.
There's also Astro Boy essays that
By Frederick
I
L. Schott, right?
right, and he actually spent he's actually the guy that translated the vast majority of Osamu Tezuka's works, even from different publishers. He would sometimes jump around and still get to translate them, and because he worked very closely with Tezuka and with the Tezuka company, and
He was his,
I'm not an
interpreter, wasn't he?
right. I think he was for many occasions a interpreter for him.
So, in terms of what I want to kind of finish off on is obviously I've covered a lot of Osamu Tezuka on my channel. And if you want to see, for instance, my favorite Osamu Tezuka manga, I recently did a top 10 Osamu Tezuka manga video. So, I would recommend viewers check that out, as well as if they find out about any particular Osamu Tezuka manga, check my channel to see if I've done a review of that. Then if you get a chance to read it, let me know what your thoughts are because on this particular manga, because I'm always fascinated to hear what people's experiences are when they come to reading an Osamu Tezuka title. So I would recommend you guys check all of that content out, and hopefully it'll help you pick up some Osamu Tezuka titles and enjoy them. That's our discussion on Osamu Tezuka. I would like to thank MangaMatt for talking to me about all of this. It's always hard to find other people who are interested in Osamu Tezuka, and it was an absolute pleasure to be able to talk to you about Osamu Tezuka, his legacy, his manga, etc., etc.
Oh, yeah, well, it was great getting to be on with you. It's like it's almost like half the stuff I was saying. It's like I barely even had to say anything because it was like you're already on the same mark. Like you get used to having to repeat and regurgitate the same things over and over again, and then it's like, oh, this you come across somebody who knows all the same stuff, so you can cut through it and get to the other stuff.
So that is a fantastic experience. So I want you guys to check out MangaMatt on his channel. As he said before, he is thinking about coming back in a kind of a more consistent way, I believe he said, on YouTube.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's just, I've had things going on, but, obviously I never stopped, collecting and reading manga. It's just,
of course.
It's just a matter of, finding the time and, just trying to get a steady schedule,
Yeah. I mean, it happens. As people know, I took a break as well from YouTube for quite a while. And I've come back, and hopefully I'm better than before. That's up to people to decide whether that is the case or not. Maybe people like the old me better. I don't know. As I said, thank you very much, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Your thoughts on what we were saying. What manga that you think Osamu Tezuka did that you particularly liked. Maybe some that you didn't particularly care for. Your thoughts on the man himself. And if you have any other additional information on this topic, leave all that in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and bye-bye.
Thanks. Later.